West Bible Camp.
Would you please join me in prayer? Our God in heaven, we do thank you for your presence here. We thank you for your love for this community. God, you've been so faithful to us for so many, many years, too many to even count. And we're so grateful to you for that. And Lord, this time of year when so many places in the world are filled with chaos and strife, Lord, we're thankful that we have a peaceful place that we can call home. God, that doesn't come easily. It comes through cooperation. It comes through leadership with vision. It comes through a sense of unity and all focusing on one purpose. Lord, we thank you that in spite of differences and opinions and everything, we've reached that goal here. It's so obvious as those who come in the community and they say, we really like this place. So we thank you for that, God, and we recognize that we take that for granted oftentimes. In the same way we take for granted those who watch over us, our police department, our paramedics and EMTs, the firefighters, Lord, even those 911 officials behind the glass at our 911 center, Lord. Those people, they sacrifice so that we could be safe. We pray that you'd watch over them and their families, show them your grace as they've given us so much. I thank you for each leader here tonight. They too have made sacrifices of family and other things, God, and sometimes it's hard to do, and yet they're willing to do it. And I pray that as you continue to use them, even at this meeting, that you give each one wisdom and understanding and this continued spirit of unity and cooperation. And we thank you for these things, for it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Thanks, Hank. Okay, at this time, we'll do roll call. Shelley, can you do that for us?
I can. Albertson? Here. Bueller? Here. Danforth?
Here.
Manti?
Here.
Riefenberger?
Here.
Roby?
Here.
Solom?
Here.
Thorson?
Here.
Tupper?
Here.
Vilhauer?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Shell. All right, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion on the consent agenda. Motion by Bruce, second by Randy. Any questions, any changes? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 2, approval of the agenda. I'll look for a motion and a second.
So moved.
Motion by Glenn, second by Beth. Any questions, changes? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, annexation and zoning of the Endrich property. We'll take A and B in 2 separate actions here. The first one will be an annexation resolution number 1640. Shane, if you want to take that for me.
Thank you, Mayor. Bring my picture up
We're
on
just
the
moving
screen.
too darn fast for you, aren't you? Aren't we?
Wow. There we go. Okay, if you're looking at the screen, the area in lighter blue is the area that we wish to annex into the city. This was property owned by Joan Endries, and it is proposed that the city and WDC are partnering up to purchase this property for an expansion of the industrial park. So.
Right,
That
and
all
we
the-
wanted to get it annexed in before we actually have the closing, which
Correct.
will happen shortly after this here. So what I'll do is I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion on the annexation. Motion by Dan, second by Bill. Any questions, changes?
I've got one question, totally out of ignorance. Are there any issues when there's a parcel of land immediately to the north, for example, that's not been annexed in and all around it has been? Does that cause any problems or issues?
It traditionally has not. However, we do anticipate that eventually those properties do get annexed, and of course, we have to plan and make sure that the infrastructure is available to parcels as they are annexed.
Yeah, because the one I think your question is in the county at this time, yeah. Okay. Hearing no more questions, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. B, second reading of ordinance number 16-24, amending the zoning district boundaries by zoning the southeast one quarter section 4116-52 to I Light Industrial District. At this time, I will open the public hearing. If there's anybody who wants to speak in favor of or against this, this is your opportunity. And I will close the public hearing. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by John. Any questions on this? Hearing none, excuse me, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, ordinance number 16-21, amending section 19.00115 and 19.0416 in chapter 19.12 of the revised ordinance of the city of Watertown to clarify authority for establishing traffic regulations, signals, and signage. At this time, I will open the, we don't need a public hearing. This is just second reading. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Bruce, second by Mike, or Brad, I'm sorry. You want to give us a little information on this, Justin?
Will do, Mayor. My memo, which is attached to the public agenda, provides the full-throated explanation for this, but suffice it to say, this ordinance is proposed as a result of an ordinance that this council passed in 2015, vested authority to set speed limit signage and traffic signage in the mayor with an advisory council, and all this ordinance does is make sure that other provisions relating to traffic signs all come into comportment with what the city council had done in 2015.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, ordinance number 16-22, adding section 8.0201 to the revised ordinances of the city of Watertown regarding city employees to which the civil service ordinances apply. This time I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Mike, second by Bill. And again, this is second reading. So Justin, if you want to fill us in on that.
Will do, Mayor. This ordinance here is merely a clerical housekeeping measure. This provision was unintentionally struck back in 2015 and describes those that are considered exempt from the civil service classification. Doesn't impact our bargaining members, our bargaining employees, and so it's just getting it back in for housekeeping purposes.
Any questions you have for Justin? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, ordinance number 16-23, repealing section 11.0805 to the revised ordinances of the city of Watertown to eliminate a redundant penalty for abandoned vehicle violations. Again, this is second reading. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Randy, second by Glenn. Justin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is even more of a basic housekeeping measure, getting rid of redundant statute or redundant section in ordinance, and because we have a punishment chapter at the end of Title 11 that already includes that substance, so we're just striking something that is unnecessary.
Any questions for Justin on this? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, first reading of ordinance number 16-25, supplemental appropriations for 2016. This is something that we do every year, if I'm not mistaken. Shelley, if you want to touch on it, you sure can.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, this is something that we go through every year. Any time that the original appropriation that was made in September of 2015 is not enough to take care of the expenditures, we go through this. You have in your agenda packets both the ordinance and then the second part is the explanation for the requests and the, where the revenue sources are coming from. I can answer any questions if you have on there or within the next 2 weeks. This is first reading, second reading, and adoption will come on the 19th. There's also some grants that were received that weren't anticipated, and so the grant supplements and then line item supplements will come at the 19th as well. So,
Okay, we'll move on. Thanks, Shelley. Number 8, first reading of ordinance number 16-26, amending section 1.0418 of the revised ordinance of the city of Watertown regarding flying clubs. Justin, I think maybe just give us a little bit on this one here, okay? Thanks.
Will do, Mayor. The impetus for this particular ordinance came from an inquiry. A member of the community was asking about providing flight instruction out at Watertown Regional Airport and noted the hangar requirements and inquired as to whether or not there was a way for him to provide flight training operations without meeting those hangar requirements. And the way our ordinances read currently, that is not the case. But in doing some research, I came to find that the Federal Aviation Administration provides guidance in addition to regulatory authority over our airport systems. And within that guidance, there were provisions related to flying clubs that permitted individuals within the flying club to offer flight training without necessarily meeting the hangar requirements that we currently had in force. Now, we have an ordinance in our ordinances in Title I, that'd be Section 10408, that pertains to flight instruction. We also have a flying club ordinance that already exists. This ordinance, proposed ordinance revision, would merely update the flying club section of Title I to reflect the guidance that currently exists in FAA guidance. So really it's just an update to comport with what the FAA is asking airports to do.
I think how you explained it to me earlier today, you said it's just another acronym trying to justify something.
You got to keep that alphabet soup of agencies happy. So every little bit helps.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it. It is being recorded, isn't it, Pete? Okay. Number 9, resolution establishing fees for the city licenses, permits, administration, other miscellaneous items, resolution number 16-41. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second. What?
There's going to be a change, so can we go through that and then just have somebody motion a second
Certainly.
with the amended change in there?
Okay.
That'll be easier than,
Sure.
thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
I'll
okay. You
st-
take it on there. Yeah.
All right, radio guy, you go. Okay. I'll start, and then Shane has one revision to, I'm assuming, the engineer / planning part of it. But this is something that is given out each year to the departments and asked to either add anything, amend anything, change anything that has been anticipated in the 2017 calendar year. And so that has been done, and there has been just a couple things added. Hasn't really been a whole lot of substantial change. There were 4 or 5 items that the engineering department did add, and so I will turn it over to Shane, and he can tell you what changes he wants made, and then you can vote and discuss on the entire resolution with any changes that he's requesting.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Mayor and City Council, we did look at the ordinances and reviewed what permits that we currently are collecting in our department, and then we reviewed several of those did not have a fee associated to them, and we've looked at what our neighboring communities are doing, and we kind of have a proposed fee structure that's similar to some of our neighbors, and other items are our own independent things. You've seen what recommendations I've made in the packet, and I can answer any questions with regard to those fees. But the one I do wish to kind of retract and change is a fee for floodplain development permit. Right now, we kind of do that permit with interacting with a grading permit. So I'd like to either make that incidental or 0 at this time until we know how we might want to advance that or modify it in subsequent years. But I did want it to at least show up on this list because it is a permit that we collect within our department. So whether it says 0 or incidental to other work, I'm okay with the language change. I just don't want it to be an additional fee tacked on to a different permit that I collect. So, any questions?
Okay, so do you prefer 0?
Sure.
Okay, let's go 0. So I will look for a motion and a second on this, on the revised. Motion by Mike, second by Beth. Any questions that you have for either of them?
Not a question specifically on these, but when we had this conversation a year ago, there was some conversation, because I don't think any of us know how much time is involved in whatever we're acting on here. So there was some discussion a year ago about going through and doing a comprehensive review of our overall fee structure. Has that been done, or will it be done, or where are we at in that conversation from a year ago?
What we were looking at a year ago is we were actually looking at hiring a firm to come in. I think the cost was around that $30,000, was it not, to have them do that structure? We did not do that, and we did not budget that for 2017 either. So if it's something that we want to do, we need to put that in for, to kind of remind us in for 2018. Does that work for you guys?
If,
But
I'm not sure that we need to spend $30,000 to go through and get these. One of the questions I had asked is what the total revenue
you're
is
not
from
going to
something like
bring
this.
that much in. It's going to take
know.
years to bring that up.
Yeah, and at some point, maybe these need to just get boosted, if that's what the case, to make sure they're covering our costs or whatever our goal is, and go with it. I don't think.
And
that
I
was
will
tight.
draw your attention to the screen. Can you bring that down just a little ways, guys? There's a new one in there. A little further, a little more, a little more. Keep going. A little more. Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. Can you find me? Well, go up just there, right there on the bottom. Check that out. Nice, huh? You like that? Huh? We do it. We do it, yeah. Yeah. So whatever we're going to collect on that throughout the year for marriage ceremony is going to go into a little pot, and we're going to help the kids that the police department goes, like their Camp Chance and things like that. We're just going to throw it in that budget. All right? I have 2 this week I got to do.
So not only do they have to shop local, they have to marry local in the
Just
city
telling
hall.
you, this is going to be pretty cool, yeah.
What's the chances that's going to last if you're...
I was thinking about that the other day, really. I thought, okay, we're going to
Putting together a board.
We're going I don't think I'm going to sign it for like 60 days, and then I'll come back and see if they're still together. How would that be? That work? Not a good idea. Thanks, Bill. We love you too, buddy. Okay. Well, I just had to make sure you saw that in case you didn't look at your packet. So do we have a motion and a second on the floor? Any questions that you guys might have? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, authorization for the mayor to sign a professional service agreement for the 2017 health insurance benefit consultant. What I will do, I'm going to read a little statement here. The city council approved the city health insurance renewal for 2017 with Wellmark. In the past, any enrolled agent designated by the city was paid by Wellmark, and the cost was included in the monthly premium amount. To be more transparent, Wellmark has removed that agent cost as part of the premiums. The city has the option to have Wellmark contract with the agent and bill the city, or the city can contract with the agent and pay directly. These fees will continue to come out of the health insurance line item as it has in the past as part of the cost of providing health insurance coverage. The contract in your agenda packet is the contract being considered tonight for the 2017 plan year. If approved, it will be up for renewal each year after that. So what I need is a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Beth, second by Mike. Are there any questions on this? Hearing none?
Mayor, I have a question.
Yep.
Justin, section 2 about termination of this. There's a conflict there. It says in point A that it takes 90 days and nobody terminates, it extends on an annual basis. That makes sense. Point C says services may be terminated at any time upon 90 days written notice. I mean, which one is it?
I'd have to check and review that particular segment again, but I'll make sure to get a response here before the end of the evening.
Do you want to act upon it still with him going to review that quick, or you guys have an answer for that by chance? why don't you come up to the microphone and maybe you can answer that for us? And then if you will, when you get ready, just state your name, okay?
will, thank you. So Christy Westerman, I'm with Howat McDowell Insurance, a Marsh & McLennan agency out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So thank you very much for the consideration this evening. What that is saying is it is an annual contract that you would have with Marsh & McLennan agencies. If you continue to renew year after year, it would be an evergreen contract. Does that make sense?
Then what does point C mean?
Point C is saying that you can, in essence, terminate your agreement with us at any given time with a 90-day notification.
Before the expiration date.
Exactly,
Okay.
So that
exactly.
'Cause I think
supersedes
A-
point A.
Yeah, I think A talks about the expiration date.
At the end of the year, yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Mayor, the only question I
That makes
had
sense
is,
to me.
on the exhibit, it talks about these activities relating to the client's employee benefits program. Is this purely health insurance?
This particular contract is purely health insurance.
Health insurance.
That's
It's
correct.
not the entirety of our employee benefits program,
It is not.
which involves a lot more.
Right, and what we'll be asking them in the future is that they can take a look at all of our insurance programs and analyze that and take that out and see where we're at, if we're in the right area or not.
They could also do that without this contract, if we so.
I think
Would-
they could do that if we hired them to do that, yes.
But on the flip side, this is an example of what we just approved a couple months ago to review our compliance with the Affordable Care Act. This was something that could have been done or would have been done if this contract would have been in place.
That is correct. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna look for council action.
One question if I can, Steve, then, Shelley, the 90 days come next year, then we're gonna have that brought before us, before that 90 days then for renewal? Is that the, because obviously if it automatically renews and then we discuss it, it's past the time.
Right, yep. It'll probably come up at the same time that we ask to renew our health insurance premiums, and then we'll ask about the contract to renew services or go back out for quotes,
Okay, So you'll
whatever.
have to have that on your calendar to make sure the timing on that, okay?
And if I could, Mayor, just inquire of the witness. So just to allay.
Starting to sweat a little.
No. I'll be gentle. No worries there. Just to clarify, then it's a flat 90-day without there being a breach. It's a flat 90-day notice.
It's a flat 90-day notice. You know, it's an annual contract. So like I said, it's going to be an evergreen contract if you want to stay and extend that contract. Now, next year, as we work through the benefits and renewal, we can be a little bit at the mercy of other factors. So if something were to happen, I mean, we're going to be flexible when it comes to that if you want to terminate at the time of renewal. Now, throughout the year, if you want to terminate prior to renewal, then it's going to be that flat 90 days.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Councilman Roby, I don't know if that answers your question. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Do you want to do a roll call vote on that, Shelley? There's 3 for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Albertson? Bueller? Danforth?
Yes.
Manti?
Yes.
Riefenberger? Roby? Solom?
Yes.
Thorson?
No.
Tupper?
No.
Vilhauer?
Yes.
7 in favor, 3 against, motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Number 11, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, authorization to issue payment for the renewal of the workers' compensation policy for 2017. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Glenn, second by Beth. Shelley, you want to take that for us?
Okay, I can do that. This is another thing that gets renewed each year. We've already approved the renewal of work comp with the Public Assurance Alliance. If you look in your packets, the total premium is actually about 1% lower than it was last year. In looking at it, it doesn't look like any of the rates changed. It's just basically where we placed some of the payroll was at a lower rate, so it actually lowered the total contribution owing. The discount levels are the same as last year. That netted about $163,000 worth of discounts. So the total premium owed for 2017 is $331,762, and the city proper is going to pay $258,281, and the utilities will pay the remaining $73,481. So it's the $258,281 that we're asking permission to pay this evening.
Okay, so I need a motion and a second for discussion, or do I have that? I'm sorry. This is one thing I just kind of want to comment about, Shelley, if I'm not mistaken. This is something that the whole could look at for us and to see if we're right. I just want to throw that out there.
The witness is back. Christy Westerman, Howat McDowell Insurance. Let me say that I am employee benefits. I do not, but yes, we are we have full agency capabilities from our MMA partnership and can look at work comp, whatever you need, we would be absolutely happy to take a look at.
What would be the additional charge for, let's just say, the work comp side of it?
You know, I would not be able to answer that question, being that that's not my area of expertise, but we are always willing to bring a specialist from that side of the house up to introduce them to you and to have a discussion in regards to what that would look like.
Probably like $10, right?
1 million, I'm kidding.
Okay. All right. Since I have a motion and a second on the floor, I'll look for council action. If there's no more questions, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again. Number 12, consideration for the fire department to add 1 temporary staff on day shift for EMS services for 2017. At this time, I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Mike, second by Don. Chief, you want to give us a little information on this?
Well, thank you very much. So a couple of years ago, we did get in our budget a 40-hour EMT firefighter, and this was to combat the rising EMS calls that we have during the day. Our days, as some of you have seen, our day graphs are a little higher than our night graphs, and so instead of putting an additional employee on for 24-hour shift work, we introduced this 40-hour EMT, and when it's in place, it works very well for our department. Mainly, they're used in EMS transfers and whatnot. So this works really well. So it takes a couple months for us to get that employee trained in, and when we have a person depart our department and we lose that spot, either moving to shift or whatever the case may be, we really notice a peak in overtime. Along with our call volume and stuff. So this has really worked very well for us. So what we have right now is with military leave on one of our employees, we actually have that spot open. And so in our budget, we actually have dollars to fill that spot temporarily. So what we're looking at is your consideration to consider adding an additional 40-hour employee. That would be for just the calendar year of 2017. And what this would allow us to do is both these positions would be temporary due to the military leave and just seeking approval for 2017 of adding an extra EMT that would just be on the ambulance and to help with transfers and as well as multiple calls during the day. And by doing that, we would analyze that throughout the spring here and stuff when it's up and running to see if we can combat that overtime a little bit and provide that service by decreasing overtime. And our funding for this, the reason that we're here tonight is the funding for this is through the contracts from Prairie Lakes Hospital for like the helicopters and stuff to help fund this temporary employee. So.
Any questions for Doug on this?
I got a question, Doug. How tough is it to find somebody in a temporary position when they know they've only got such a limited runway?
Well, that is might not be too bad with the the school so close to us, you know, we might be able to find a temporary employee, you know, obviously, working forward, you know, we'd hope to hire them full-time when a position opens up. And if they like this area and they get used to this area from the school, they may be able to stick around and wait that out through other employment and things like that as they're waiting. But yeah, I think it'll be okay. I would like to add one more thing that I did forget, that with these, if we did get approval with the 2 employees, we would be looking at 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it'd start at 7 a.m., we'd start a shift, and that would be holidays, weekends, and everything to help us with those areas of need as well.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
Number 13, authorization for the mayor to sign a vending space lease agreement with PepsiCo Food Service to provide vending service at the regional airport. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Don, second by Bruce. Justin, you want to help us out on this one?
I'd be happy to do so, Mayor. This lease has come up before, and it is, believe it or not, a real property lease. So this didn't receive a public hearing, however, because it involves a term of month-to-month letting. So it's a small lease, small real property lease, but it would be for $30 a month out there at the airport to allow vending machines to be located there. PepsiCo is going to be responsible for the machines, and it's going to be a very flexible contract, as we've seen a number of contracts emanating from the airport necessarily being that way. The termination provision is the same, again, with 30 days notice, prior notice before terminating, so very flexible all around. If you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions for Justin on the pop machine?
We don't got to bid that one?
I'm upset. I kind of wanted a Coke machine out there.
Gonna say there's no Coke
Yeah.
machine? No
If
Coke?
I have a chance to vote on this one, guys, it's going down. I'm just.
I'm sure it's not a lot, but I mean, the lease itself is not a lot, but that includes utilities. I mean, it looks like we're getting virtually nothing out of this when it's all said and done.
You know, that's a fair point to make, Councilman. In talking to Todd, you know, we're already dealing with pretty slim margins as it is with that pop machine being there. You know, so in terms of what PepsiCo gets out of it, you know, historically that's been around the amount that's been charged, is my understanding. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's if Todd were here, he'd give you a more straightforward explanation, but that's my understanding.
We'd be better off buying our own at some point in time and fill
Well,
our own pop.
it's more than just a pop machine, no, it's
a vending machine.
yeah. PepsiCo Vending is, I mean, it's a food service vending company out of Aberdeen. There is a local vendor here that had the contract in the past that, of course, with their old airline service, it was kind of a losing proposition for everybody, so, because he was losing about $300 worth of product a month just from getting outdated, so.
Exactly. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 14, authorization for the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with RS Architects for the Ice Arena project. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion. Motion by Dan, second by Beth. This here, just to give you a little update, you know, this is a AIA contract that we've used with the CMA of Pitts Construction and all the others so far. This is a contract that is being developed by Justin and Gary Stanley of RS Architects. So I'll let you just, I wonder if there are questions. I think they all understand this one. Do you guys have questions? If not, I'm just going to move ahead with it.
I just would ask Steve, you know, this came up a while ago, and as you know, I was adamantly opposed to it for the process that we went through. And I respect what the mayor did in taking with the process. Would you just maybe give a background on what we went through? Because my big hang-up was these guys have never done a hockey or ice arena before, and I really, really had concerns about that. But at some point, you gotta trust the process. So if you would maybe just mention what they did, so the
I
public
certainly
knows.
would. Yeah, what we did actually, we then went out and hired an owner's rep, which was Tegra Corporation out of Minneapolis, I believe. And Nate Pearson
That's correct, Mayor.
Came down. We put the whole thing together for us, the whole package. We then went out for bids on that for the architect. We had numerous architects that actually applied for the job. Nate was extremely impressed because at the time when Gary Stanley with RS Architects came back, he had with him a firm out of Wisconsin that was, I think it's a Ward firm, isn't that correct? Scott Ward, that is just basically builds ice. He also brought in Banner and Associates as his mechanical engineer, who actually has done numerous ice facilities down in the Sioux Falls region. So it really went quite well, and I appreciate the fact that you brought that up at the last meeting, Don, or when we had that. It just kind of reiterated that I think we did make a good choice, and we are making a great choice on this, and it's going to be a good deal, and we're going to get moving on it. So any other questions on that? Hearing none, I'm going to look for council action. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 15, consideration of bids received for the petroleum products and street department materials for 2017. I'll look for a motion and a second for discussion on this. Motion by Randy. Second by Brad. You want to fill us in on that, Shane, or is there someone here that wants to talk about it? I see John finally showed up. He could talk about this. Just got to pick on you, John.
You want to switch subjects, John? All right, thank you, Mayor. On November 21st, we took bids for the annual maintenance material products that we do this every year, and we didn't receive anything out of the ordinary. So with that process, we're recommendation to award to various contractors for various items. I can read through the list on the memo or not, but we recommend approval according to the memo and the bids received.
Thanks, Shane. Are there any questions that you have on this action, guys? Hearing none, I will look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 16, come on up, Johnny. Consideration of bids received for the cardio machines for the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center. I will look for a motion and a second for discussion on this. Motion by Bill, second by John. So, John, if you want to give us a little update of what you're doing here.
Well, we purchased,
Yeah, turn your
excuse
there
me,
you go.
looking to purchase 23 machines, and we are, in case you're wondering, we are going to bring over about 30 pieces of our cardio machines, and we're with space we have and the need we'll have with additional members, we're looking to purchase another 23. And we got 6 bids, which is good. And we had, as you see on your bid sheet, that the lowest one was Pro Maxima, which was $72,000, and the highest one was Fitness Equipment Supply, which was $85,000. And then the other 4 in the middle is pretty tight numbers. Pro Maxima got the low bid, but going through the specs, they did not meet about 3 of the machines as far as specs wise, and that we're requesting to not to go with them and to move up to the next one, which was Nova Fitness Equipment, which is $79,014.98, and they have met all the specs that we are requiring. So asking you to approve that, or if you have any questions.
John, are you familiar with that brand equipment and such?
Nova Equipment is kind of a third party. They can purchase equipment from other vendors, which the other ones are pretty much that's their brand, and what we spec'd for was Cybex machines and SciFit machines, and they were able to purchase those. So, in your question, yes, we're very familiar with it.
Okay, so they aren't the producer of the equipment, they are just the resale partner for it?
Correct.
Okay.
Is that all within your budgeted amount, John?
This is through FF&E, so, yes.
I mean, was there a budgeted amount, even though it's through
No,
FF&E?
no, but going through the bids, and I was anticipating $80,000 to $90,000, and this came in right at 80. So
I know it's all got to fall in within your, I mean, your total FF&E, but
I'll give up my desk if I have new desk to get these
I'm
machines.
going to hold you to that, buddy. We ain't worried about your desk, we're worried about your chair, so.
Any other questions for John? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you.
It'll be fun to see those when they show up and see how that all comes in. We had a little visit about the wellness center earlier in the work session. Is there anything you wanted to add about it? We kind of talked about the tiling and the pool and different things, but maybe something happened today. I don't know.
Not to my knowledge, but it's going fast. Seems like the closer you get, the faster it's going. So it's something different every day than we go up there, as you know that. So.
Okay, we're not going there.
All right.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank you.
John. Sure appreciate it. Is there any old business that we need to discuss?
I would have one question. Where are we at with the, putting together a deal for storage out the lake?
You know, Bruce had asked me that about the signs and storage, and I said, you know, Kenny isn't here tonight. I would like to have him here. I think we're awfully close. We need to have him here and come to the council and explain to you. Let's make sure he gets on the next work session, and we can.
I mean, it's kind of the wrong time of year to try to put something in place to enforce it, but we need to have it ready for spring, so.
Right. Yep, I think that's.
You know, because here in all reality, you got about a year-long learning curve for the residents to be able to fall in place, so.
Any other old business needs discussing?
I do have one, Mayor. Could you give us kind of an update of status on Highway 81 and 20th? Can you kind of tell us where things are right now with that whole process?
I can. You know, the Department of Transportation has taken that on, and it's been just really grateful to them that they normally do not deviate from a plan that they have set in place. And when they put a plan in, it's usually every 5 years is what they work on. So that particular spot is slated for a roundabout, which is going to be in a couple of years. And we asked them to reduce the speed limit. At that time, they said, I'm just giving you a little bit of background, maybe too much. If it is, stop me. But we asked them to reduce the speed, and just the day before the hearing, Secretary Berkowitz called up and asked if we would reconsider that and not go through the hearing and actually go through, they would put in rumble strips, they would put in overhead lights to alert people that there's a stop signs coming up. They would put up different type of stop signs that are flashing with the red on them. They were going to take care of that. They had planned on the construction to begin and to be done in November, which actually did not happen just because their construction people were wrapping up other jobs. So in the meantime, they've talked to them. We would expect they should be out there shortly. It should be done by the second or third week of December, right in that area. That's what they're telling us now. So we're hoping that the construction people are on schedule. It will happen, and it is a very dangerous corner.
Haven't they started some on it already? I did notice some flashing, some flashing stop signs.
A lot of flagging out there. Everything is set, you know, because there was Shane had some infrastructure that he had to move around in electrical this last year, I believe. We did it this summer.
There is some flashing stop signs on the east-west portion of it the other day, so.
I think, aren't there some electric message centers out there as well?
There is. We actually asked them to do that because we hadn't
That's
got
helpful.
the thing done yet. It is, you know, we're really trying hard to get that done. But please, folks, just slow down in that corner. It is very dangerous, especially with all the, you know, the big trucks that are going over to Glacial Lakes at this time. So I would slow down. I do have, if there's no other old business. I do have a bit of new business. Normally, folks, this here is something that we take up in executive session, and I really wanted to do it here tonight. I think it's something that we can do quite easily. I'm going to read a little statement here. A sick leave bank request was submitted to the finance office last week requiring council action. The employee is a newer employee with minimal time accrued. It almost sounds like you're in school, getting one of those long story problems. So the employee is a newer employee with minimal time accrued for the unanticipated medical treatment, causing the employee to be absent in excess of the earned accrued time available. The request is to allow fellow employees to donate up to 24 hours of sick leave to the employee to cover the unpaid time. The donated sick leave is irrevocable and voluntary to the employee donating it. I would need a motion and a second to either grant the sick leave bank request or deny the sick leave bank request for the employee up to 24 hours. So I would look for a motion either to grant it or not. To grant it?
Yes.
Okay, motion to grant the request by Dan, second by Randy. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll look for council action. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Any liaison member reports?
One quick one here at the utility board meeting last week. The rates for 2017 were set, and electrical rates up 3%, water rates up for the most part 4%, natural gas rates down 8.5%.
I just want to say that I talked to Steve Lehner the other day, and it just seems like that the electrical rates just keep going up and up and up and up. I mean, I'm sure that's happening all over, but, I hope we're really kind of keeping an eye on that, That just keeps going up and up.
As I understand it, a lot of it is due to cost of compliance of the plants that are out there being passed on, the EPA regulations and whatnot, and they have no choice but to pass those costs on, and we're, yep.
And I understand that, and I would agree with you, Bruce, that we are seeing those, and I know that there's cost behind. The only thing I would caution ourselves and to be very careful is at some point in time, natural gas will move higher, and then we're going to get caught in that bubble also, So we just need to be careful, and I think they are doing their due diligence out there, and they are, they should know what's going on. That's what they do for a living out there.
Just remember, we have I think we do have the lowest utility rates in the state, so they do an excellent job out there when they're doing their due diligence.
Any other member reports? Any need to go into executive session? Otherwise, I'll look for a motion and a second to adjourn. Motion by Beth, second by Mike. All in favor say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.